Pump it up, pump it up.
Trae.
Come on, come on.
With Trae.
Pump it up, pump it up.
It's the day with Trae.
This is the day to gain inspiration, to make a positive change in the nation. We're inviting you to partake in conversation, to raise your vibration. It's the day that we will all celebrate all of our peeps that make this thing elevate. Watch the negative fade away, cause it's the day with Trae.
Grand Rising, everyone. Welcome to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday, and I get to welcome you to a thank-filled, cozy Thursday. As you can see, I am really enjoying the set today, and I'm also going to later on in the show be enjoying my guests. We got Rena Butler in the building, y'all. A phenomenal, internationally acclaimed choreographer, bringing her brilliance to Pacific NW Ballet for a show called Cracks. Now, I'm so excited to dive into it with her later on in the show, but you know, this is where I get to dive in with you, right? Because it's the top of the show, y'all. So you get the opportunity to help us grow by sharing this show with folks who you feel could benefit from our daily dose of dopeness we work to give you here on the Day with Trae. And as always, if you can't watch us, you can also listen to us anywhere you find your favorite podcast. Just search Converge Media Network in the Day with Trae. You'll find us on your favorite platform. Now, before I get into it with Rena, this week, y'all have been hearing me talk about my family, that partnership and connection and community, but I want to shed some light on the arts. Oh my goodness. One of the things that I am really gearing up for this summer is, of course, the Teen Summer Musical. And drum roll, yes, my youngest son, Johnny, got in once again. So this will be his third year performing with acts on stage in the Teen Summer Musical. And this year they are bringing back a beloved classic, The Wiz. So you know I'm looking forward to it. But I'm also like, man, the explosion of art that we actually have in our city is amazing. We have so many dope venues who are constantly putting on great shows, and the summertime is a great way to give young folks an opportunity to explore their creativity. Now, I've talked about this many a times, but with our public schools being in the financial strain they normally are, we've seen a lot of funding leave the arts. And so in the summer, it's so imperative that we try to do what we can to expose young people to different forms of art. There's amazing things that happen in the summer when it comes to building films in small teams and learning about film. When it comes to programs just like Acts on Stage and the Teen Summer Musical, getting kids on stage, getting them to be in ensemble roles, lead roles, part of the chorus, singing on the sidelines. I mean, they have really expanded how these shows come together. Or some of the amazing art galleries that are opening their doors to young emerging artists. It's great to see that art in all of its forms really has such a deep dive focus on young people in the summertime. Because of course, they're no longer in school, right? So for the majority of them, they are like, what am I doing with my summer? What am I doing with my time? And I love that we have so many great programs that are opening their doors for young folks to find their pathway to creativity. You know, as a young person myself, I got to be involved in a lot of different camps, but it wasn't until I really took acting seriously and said, I want to do this professionally, that my parents said, okay, you know, I got with a nice talent agency. I learned all about theater and film and TVs and commercials and modeling. I mean, it was like a whole gambit that I went through, and it prepared me to be here as the host of the Day with Trae today. And so I want to give a huge shout out to all of the mentors, the teaching educators, the artists, teachers, those who are involved in these programs to open those doors for young people so they can explore their creativity, because oftentimes they need to be able to experience it in order to know if it is indeed something that they enjoy enough to make it a career for themselves. So for all of you who are pouring into young folks in the creative world, I salute you, because we need your passion, your connection, your authenticity to be showcased for young folks so they too can find their pathways. Well, After this short break, up next, I'm really excited because Rena Butler's in the building, y'all, and I can't wait to talk to her about all things, her background, and what she's bringing to PNB later on this month, starting on May 30th, y'all. So I'm looking forward to it. You definitely don't want to miss it. You need to stay tuned because it's coming up right after this short break. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Working with Dentalman has been totally different than working with a traditional bank.
They're real, and they meet you right where you stand.
I was recently funded, and that money has just changed the trajectory of what we're able to do and our output. This has been just more than just funding or a one-on-one connect. It's been an opportunity for us to really grow and connect and build roots within the community.
As a small business owner, you need to put your faith into the right people, and they seem like good people to put their faith into.
In Seattle, it's more than just coffee. It's community. At the station, we brew more than just your favorite cup. We brew connection. From Beacon Hill to Columbia City, we're a space for artists, activists, and everyone in between. A place to gather, create, and simply be. Whether you need a quiet place to work, a lively spot to meet friends, or just a moment to unwind, find your place at the station. More than coffee, it's home. Visit us in Beacon Hill or Columbia City. The station, where community happens.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. Joining me right now, we got Rena in the building. What's up, Rena?
Hey, Trae.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here today.
Me too. And to be able to, I think, have more exposure to the Seattle community, it's very cool.
Yeah, because I mean, you are here, and when I talk about internationally acclaimed, you've done a lot of work. And so tell us a bit about your background before you became this amazing ballet choreographer. Tell us about some of those steps that got you there.
Yeah, well, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and I started at this little studio called the Dance Gallery. And it was just kind of this very small community studio in the neighborhood of Beverly. And then just slowly kind of made my way up through the ranks, so to speak. Went to Joffrey Ballet School and knew I wanted to choreograph. I think at the tender age of 10, I used to watch MTV's Making the Video, and that would have I don't know if you remember that, but music videos. It would just be a peer into or a peek behind the scenes of making a new music video for a hot new track that came out from either Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, Destiny's Child, and you would see how the choreographers and the directors would work in tandem behind the scenes. And I just was so fascinated by that and Soul Train, because I grew up on that on Saturday mornings cleaning the house, and my parents would just put it on every TV and blast it. I think, to foster more of a creative environment for me and my siblings. And, I'm like, where to start? It's so dense. I think the training, even went to Performing Arts High School, went to SUNY Purchase Conservatory of Dance, and just really fell in love with dance making and choreography. Not only was I an innate performer, I loved to perform classical, modern, contemporary, but I had such an eye for putting ideas in space and shaping them in space in real time. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. What I really enjoy, there's something so it's like a spark that kind of happens in you know, the eye of the creative that I'm so drawn to as a creative myself. So I love just seeing you go through that like journey and visualizing those different pillars of time that have led you to where you are today. But it's also something that I'm sure dancers that you get to work with, that they experience that. Tell us a bit about that choreographer to dancer relationship.
Ooh, I think it's very interesting because our cultural climate within the studio is shifting. It's changing, you know, with all of the movements, Black Lives Matter, Me Too, at least that I directly relate to with the intersectionality of my person, right, and my identity. I think there's a lot of mindfulness about how we communicate in the studio and how we build and make together. I am such a leader or facilitator that needs to diversify leadership in order to really understand just the smorgasbord that's in front of me of options of dance making. I think if I'm just the one driving the ship, then I have a very pointed view of what the work can potentially be, as opposed to if I diversify that leadership and give everyone, prompt every creator in the room to have a little bit more agency over their choice making and trust them more as artists, then I feel like the work becomes that much more fruitful. And that's been really beautiful, and especially coming from a place of being possibly the only Black dancer in the room for years, feeling like I have a voice and I want to utilize it, but not quite sure how, when you're told as a dancer to just interpret and obey what the rules are in the structure of the company or, again, the studio culture. I find it really important now that I'm on the other side of the room to be that change I've always wanted to see.
Yeah, because there's also a freshness too, right? Like you get to come in, you fly in, right? You're here to do this very specific work. And so there's this freshness that I'm sure that brings in terms of that, the intersectionality of the relationship between choreographer and dancer. But there's also this relationship you're building with P&B. And I am so grateful that over the years, I've really gotten to not only hear about P&B's intentionality, but witness it, experience it, partner with it. So tell us a bit about how, you know, you've been able to vibe with the ways that P&B is setting itself up also, I think, as, you know, this real beacon in terms of the ballet community in general.
Oh, definitely. I think, and I've frequented a lot of ballet companies, both in the US and overseas, and I think P&B, and you can catch me on record for saying this, the most progressive environment I've ever been in. The first thing I noticed walking in, it was the first day, and both Keon and Peter are giving me a tour of the company. We're watching a little bit of company class, and I grab Keon's forearm. I'm like, but I see 2-strand twists. I see an afro. I see a blowout. I see knotless braids. I'm going crazy, and they're doing fouettes. And he was like, yes, Rena, we want them to be comfortable because if they look good, they feel good, they dance well for us. And that was the first time I realized, like, okay, I'm in good company. I'm in a place where I feel like I can truly be myself. And I think the first time I met them, I had box braids, or Fulani braids, and I remember taking them out. You know, it's always a thing, the timing of the takedown, and if I take them out, these people gonna look at me differently. No, actually, I think I felt and still feel so accepted by P&B to exercise my own desires in terms of how I want to build a new work there. The conversations that we have in the studio around keeping it progressive, giving them that agency, it's all supported, and I really feel like it all comes from the top. It's beautiful.
Wow, it's so great to hear that. Because it's interesting when I get to speak with folks who are coming here, specifically like yourself, to partner with P&B, or those who have like grown up a bit in it and have been like, whoa, like we have experienced this level of intentionality and how it shows up in space. But it's so great to hear that, because I always think, you know, people don't realize how much like the Pacific Northwest and Seattle in general is like, or specifically Seattle, how there are some like real golden nuggets here, like gems. And I find myself as an advocate of the arts always trying to get people that are here to just recognize it, right? Because it is unique in ways that I've personally felt and experienced. And so that's really special. So I'm glad to hear you say that, Rena. And I will put you on record to say so. So it's all good, right? But also too, now cracks. I mean, this, I am like, oh, I gotta be there. I gotta see this. Tell us a bit about what this piece of work, like where does it derive from for you? What are we gonna be witnessing on that stage?
Oh, this is a big question because we're still in process, but nearing the end of the process. And it all started with a big question of, does fervent worship or obsession lead to true transcendence? I think there is a trend around, not that they're around commodifying spirituality in that sense. And I feel like, what is self-love? What are all these questions that we see on social media that people give surface level investigation to? And I just wanted to put it out there. I think where I'm at, it's always when I'm building a new work, it's a snapshot of whatever phase or chapter I'm in life. And so I have questions around, does fervent obsession lead to true transcendence? Parallel to, does disobedience versus obedience, does that lead to cracks in a sense of self? I hope that made sense. I'm like trying to gather it. But it has this filter of the Catholic school settings. When I grew up, my mother was Baptist and my father was Catholic. And all the kids were raised in the Catholic environment. And I remember being in 5th grade, and Sister Suzanne was always on my behind about standing in a straight line, about not talking when she's talking. And she would tell me things like, you're going to hell because you didn't stand in line. And I'm like, okay, that really stuck with me. I think, in those formative years of growing up, I'm not obedient, I'm not following the rules, therefore I'm a terrible person, as opposed to teaching kids about, the nature of kindness and how to share that love. And so reflecting on all of that, I was like, oh, I could do something with this ballet and really make something that feels, I think, profound to this exploration that I'm trying to get at, and have it through that filter of feeling like that obedient 10-year-olds trying to just be what they think is a good person in order to get to the kingdom of heaven or a spiritual enlightenment or whatever, what have you. I think the filter is there, that Catholic school filter is there primarily as a filter to be accessible to a larger demographic of people. I think we've seen movies like that, or we've had similar experience to that of going to a school with uniforms even, and what it means to homogenize yourself in a very eclectic kind of world. And so where are the cracks in that foundation of being disobedient versus obedient? Where are the cracks in that sense of self that have stuck with us? And what does it mean to dismantle it and start anew, or to understand that you yourself are enough?
Wow. It's so spectacular. When I was reading up on this, just to hear you speak about it, for me, I got it right away. And I thought, wow, ballet is a unique form because the expression of movement is what conveys the idea. It is a different form of storytelling that requires the movement of the body to really come through the audience so they can understand what's being shown, what's being said, especially in a new work, right? Because we don't have frames of reference to go, oh no, I saw this before. I know exactly what this story is. And so there's always something so special to me about new works like that, right? Where we get to explore these different kind of progressive ideals in ways that is hitting the audience for the first time. Tell us a bit about how you kind of receive that, and maybe some of the things that you really want the audience to kind of understand.
Totally. I mean, I think you hit it right on the nail too, just because ballet in and of itself has that formality of, I don't want to step over the line, or you step on a crack, you break your mother's back type thing. You know? And so it has that discipline, like if I follow, then I'm going to be a great artist. And so even in that parallel, it works, and is life imitating art, is art imitating life, so to speak. And so I want the audience to walk away with feeling prompted. And whether that's prompted to feel or to think is completely up to them and how they receive the work. And something a mentor of mine has once said of, I wish people would walk into a theater the same way they walk into a museum, where you're able to just experience a Van Gogh painting right in front of you, or a Kara Walker painting, like context, right?
Nice.
Or the same way, if they could view that same way that they do in the museum into the theater, I wonder how different dance would be received. And so I think I invite and I encourage people when they come into the theater, just be open to what you're receiving. Let it wash over you. You don't have to search for anything. I'm making it so that it can be relative to your experience, because it is a mirror. I think in every piece of work that we're watching, whether live or I think immortalized by video or film, it is something inside of that piece of work that is reflective of the human experience. And we've all been through death and rebirth in many different forms. What does that look like for you when you watch this piece? And there's a bit of like a tongue-in-cheek aspect to it as well. So it's light enough to be accessible, but let's see, I'm hoping.
Well, I am almost certain it is going to definitely be something that wows the audience. You know, it's explorative in a way that I think is like so relevant to this time. And so I love, one of the things I love the most about the arts is that it's always has the potential to depict the zeitgeist, the sign of the times we're in right now. And that what's great about that is having those works over time tells a story of time. So I get really geeked out about it. So I'm just really grateful. I'm really grateful that you are here, that you are pouring your passion into these phenomenal dancers and into this work. Thank you so much for saying yes to coming up here to the Pacific.
Oh my God, it's an honor, Queen. Seriously. No, because, you know, I think, especially in working for a homogenized company, which I don't think is so homogenized because they really do diversity in a very unique way, that, you know, I always question being a Black creative. Do I always need to be making work about Black culture, challenge, struggle, joy? And I think just the existence of being a Black artist, I'm challenging myself to make work about whatever it is I want to make. It doesn't always have to be about the Black experience, because this is the Black experience. And it's just really great to have that be supported in the community and for me to be on your extraordinary show. So it's really much gratitude to you and all that you do to make art more accessible and more visible, because it's why we do what we do.
Well, you know, I get to say that I just get to sit here and talk to phenomenal folks like you. And honestly, it's, for me, there's a personalization that has to occur, specifically in the arts like ballet and opera that have not always felt as easily accessible. You know, theater and musical theater, there's a bit more of a veil there that I think has been lifted over time. But there's something very specific about someone saying, oh my God, wait a minute, this phenomenal Black choreographer is creating a piece for the ballet that P&B said, no, we need her here. We need her to do this, right? So for me, there's this personalization that happens by people just knowing that you exist
Right.
and that you're here to do this. So if you're ever in this area, just stop on by.
Oh, I'm hitting you.
You got to
up.
tell us what you're
Always.
doing.
Well, next year, yes.
Yeah,
I'll be
see?
with Wim Wim, actually.
Nice.
So I'll come back.
Okay.
You already know. It
I'm looking
feels like
forward to
home.
it. And it is. You know, it is your home. So I'm glad we're doing our job here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rena. Great work.
Thank you.
Wow, y'all. Now, on this Thankful Thursday, I get to share my thanks to Rena right after this short break. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Come celebrate Juneteenth, a road to economic freedom with us in Tacoma, Washington at Stewart Heights Park on June 19th. It's one big happy family reunion that you don't want to miss. Join us as we bring singing powerhouse Crystal Aiken and the legendary gospel superstar himself, Fred Hammond. But that's not all. We're bringing back the old school with everyone's favorite soul for real. And there's so much more. June 19th in Tacoma. For more information, visit juneteenthwa.com.
Empowering the community one connection at a time. ConnectWA is your partner in finding the support you need. Download the app today and experience the difference that a connected community can make. Learn more at eec-wa.org/connectwa-app.
Hey, besties.
What is a bestie?
I like you.
She's fun.
It's about to be a good time.
She's always looking out for you.
Since you're my bestie, I will handle it for you.
She makes you think.
Here to uplift and empower.
She's always encouraging.
You are that girl.
Chelsea Edwards, your bestie in daytime.
I get the spiritual moments.
Chatting with Chelsea. New episodes weekdays at 5:30 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
Welcome back, y'all, to The Day with Trae. Of course, I'm your host, Trae Holiday. Huge shout out to my guest, Rena Butler, for being in the building. Y'all, we're over here geeking out even during commercial break because it's so amazing to hear directly from a creative person who is bringing a body of work to a stage where people can truly explore ideals that might not actually exist in other formats. And I really enjoy the way that the arts can take control over not only how we express it, but what we put into the expression. And so for me, as someone, y'all know I am a true live performance goer, okay? I go to all of it because I love the storytelling nature that exists in our forms, in these vessels, doing all that we can to bring a story to life for the audience. So y'all know I'm inspired by Rena. I want y'all to be inspired, not only to get your tickets to Cracks, which of course you can go to PNB's website and make sure you get your tickets. It starts on May 30th, right down there at McCaw Hall. And I know it is set to be a fabulous time. If you're looking for something that is different, new, progressive, bringing a freshness, this is the type of show that you want to go to. You want to be able to understand how arts in and of themselves can truly reflect new ideals. And a show like Cracks is definitely going to give you that, okay? So this piece that Rena is putting together is something I can't wait to see, and I hope y'all got inspired to not only see it, but find the way to fill those cracks in your life. What types of moves do you need to make to edit yourself in ways that truly reflect you even more? The more you do it, the more we all get to benefit from it. Thanks so much for watching today, y'all. I get to wrap my week up with y'all tomorrow. And until then, at 11 a.m., y'all, peace. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.